In the first tutorial, the last one, we looked at what Jekyll is, why it's pretty cool, what kinds of stuff you can do with it, and we got all the way up through installing the gem and scaffolding a website for the first time. And that's where this one picks up. So in this tutorial, we'll be looking at what is the structure of the website itself. How are the files and folders organized so that you can get editing really quickly and have your website updated in the least time possible. Now, when you open your project folder in Sublime or whatever other text editor you use, probably the first file that's going to come up is config.yml. And this is a really important one to hit first. You'll notice if you look at the structure of the page, there's a description, there's some usernames, email, all that good stuff. And it's kind of all over the place, but it's aggregated all in this file for you. And so if you edit something like this and you save it, I'll restart the server for us. You'll notice that it gets updated all across the website, including down in posts, other pages, everywhere. And that's what makes this really, really powerful. The second thing to look at in the directory is this CSS folder. And it actually doesn't use straight CSS, it uses SCSS, which is a preprocessor. And that's sort of a little bit beyond the scope of what we're trying to do today, but this is an important area to look at because this will be the place where you can go to change your font family, change font sizes, and just all sorts of good stuff, base colors, and you can define variables which will then be used later on here. And this is the actual CSS for the page, but instead of having to update values manually, you'd be able to just change it in one place here. For the sake of this tutorial, we'll just add some font. And it looks like the server regenerated automatically, which is great. And now you'll notice that the whole website is now using the Lobster 2 font. Very pretty, I know. So we won't keep that. One of the really powerful things that Jekyll has is this feature called includes, and you can find them in the includes folder. Say you have a chunk of code that you'll need to have across the whole website, or even just parts of the website, but you'll have it more than once. Things like the header, the footer, regardless of where you go on the website, whether it's a blog post or whether it's a subpage or what have you, the home page, there will always be a header, there will always be a footer. And if you have to rewrite the header and the footer for every page that you make, that gets to be pretty manual, and it's even more annoying when you're trying to update it later. And so what Jekyll has is this concept called includes, and it basically says, okay, if you take this one element, the footer, for example, and you just write it once, then you can reference this file all across the rest of your website using something called a liquid tag, and we'll look at that in a minute. And when you want to update it, you can update it here, and if you want to get rid of it, you can get rid of it here, and your updates will take effect immediately across the entire website. So you only have to edit things in one place. And I've said that over and over again, but that's for emphasis because this is a really significant feature. The next thing I'd like to show you is layouts, and that is in the layouts folder. So what this does is basically it allows you to make templates that you can use when constructing actual pages themselves. So this one, for example, is the default template, and we'll see how to reference it in actual HTML pages later. But for now, take a look at this. So remember I was mentioning liquid tags a second ago, And that's basically this funny notation you see with the curly brace and the percent sign, and then include head.html. Now what that's going to do is every time a default template is generated, it will pull the code, all of this from head.html, and put it in there as if you had typed all of this out manually. And the same thing for header, which is all this, footer, it's all going to go there. And that's how Jekyll is able to retain this structure of having the header on top, the footer in the bottom, and any other includes you might make. And that's how it allows you to make changes in only one place and have it update everywhere else. So the next thing I want to show you is one of the really cool features of Jekyll, and it's called YAML Frontmatter. And it's everything that lives between the 3 dashes on a given page. And so what that does is it basically tells Jekyll to set some things in a certain way. In this case, the category, date, title, and layout. What that basically is, I think probably most significantly, is when you set the layout, it allows this page to inherit code from a layout, and in this case it's post. And so if you look at post, you'll see that it's getting all this, and the content, which is just this section right here, is going to be everything from line 7 all the way to the bottom. And so basically, in this case, it's a blog post, and when you're making other blog posts, you won't have to write any of this. But it gets even better because the post layout, in turn, inherits code from the default layout, which is all this. And so, and in turn, this liquid tag for the content right here is all this. So right away, it's taking care of your head, your header, your footer. We talked about that a minute ago. And so you'll get to see kind of the power of the includes and of the templating and all that good stuff. And you'll notice that, for example, the about page has a slightly different format than a blog post does, right? The blog post has the date, so on and so forth, but they all still have the header, the footer, and that's an artifact of how the templates are set up in here. That's most of the heavy lifting that Jekyll does to make scaffolding a website easy for you. There are 1 or 2 more things that are worth mentioning. So when you have a blog, and I made a bunch of fake blog posts here, when you have a blog, they should be stored in the _posts folder. And they should be saved and named using this convention of year, month, day, title separated by dashes and dot markdown or MD or textile, depending on what you use. And then the last thing is git ignore. Make sure that you have the _site folder in your git ignore, because this folder gets generated by Jekyll every time the website is rendered, and so there's no need for it to be saved in your Git repository. So to recap for you really quickly, this is the config file where you'll make all your changes. These are like the global variables, and it's going to be updating across the entire website automatically. Your CSS, same story, and your SCSS if you do pre-processing. Personally, I put my SCSS and CSS on the same file. It makes it easier to write, in my opinion, but that's also kind of a matter of personal preference. Then there are broad elements like the partials, footer, head, header, or whatever else. If there's an advertisement that you want to go over here you could make that a partial as well. Then there are page specific things like the YAML Frontmatter that you have up here, and that's about it. In the next video, we'll look at how to deploy it to GitHub and show it off to the world. See you next time.